Hey guys, this is Untitled Lego Maniac. Be sure to check out my other social media accounts and my Patreon. Links are down below.
Alright, let's do this one more time. After months of work, I finally finished the main cast from Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse. No, I am not planning on making more, and I want to move on, so don't ask me for Kingpin, Prowler, or any others. As much as I would love to make the villain, I honestly want to move on. I made the main hero. Can't that be enough? Can't anyone at least talk about these figures and figures I haven't made?
And where's the scientist who yelled he stole a bagel? Where is the Chris Pine Spider-Man? And what about Miles' roommate?
Jesus, oh what a dumb. For this video, I have Miles Morales, Peter B. Parker, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Noir, Penny Parker and her Spider-Mecha, and lastly, Spider-Ham. I never planned on making Spider-Verse figures to begin with, and after making the Spider-Lolly, because I'm a weeaboo degenerate who likes underage schoolgirls, I made the entire cast because I absolutely love this movie. It is on my top 3 superhero movies, just in between The Dark Knight and Logan. I saw this movie 3 times in theaters, and never once was I bored or had any major problems with the film. It is a masterpiece and the best Spider-Man movie ever. Starting with Miles, I never cared about his character, but this movie and Spider-Man PS4 made me appreciate him a lot. Starting from the top, I used a Lloyd hood piece from the Lego Ninjago movie and cut off the hair that's sticking out from the front. I then painted it gloss red. I painted his entire head as well. The reason why I made this version of Miles with the jacket, pants, and shoes is because I honestly like this look a lot. Plus, it's something unique and different. I don't want to make his black suit in its entirety because I don't like painting webbings and it saves a lot of time. Torso is also fully painted as well. Dark gray lines are somehow a bit difficult to paint than black for some reason. They look a bit more gloppier and harder to thin out, though they are not as tough as white paint. I also modified the Cape Man's jacket and I glued threads and a white thing made with E-tape. I also made his belt and buckle with Procreate and E-tape. His legs are actually not the Harry Potter legs. I actually modified a normal pair of legs and I made it slightly shorter but taller than the Harry Potter legs. That way he is a bit shorter than Peter, but is still taller than Penny. For his unmasked head, I painted his face and I used the Donald Glover Lando hair or the Nakia hairpiece, whatever you want to call it. Peter B. Parker was the most interesting figure to make in this video. He has the most accessories and honestly it's actually the most complicated. Starting with the head, I painted it myself and instead of using black lines for the webbings, I used dark red since the animation made the webbings a bit lighter and reflective. I then sculpted a belly for him. Now people love the belly sculpts and there are a few of those who think I made him too thick. And to that I'm going to show them why I am right and they are wrong. The gut does not jut out as far as you think and, well, he is fat. Some scenes show that he is holding his gut in and some scenes he isn't. Plus, it is my job as an artist to make things in my own interpretation anyway. Lego doesn't really follow basic proportion. We are talking about a figure that has guns as tall as their legs. The gut looks like that on purpose. I just want to make him fat. The problem with sculpting a belly onto this guy is the fact that I have to paint an entire torso red and blue. Red and blue paint is also very difficult to work. Red and blue paint is also very difficult to work with because they require multiple layers of paint to make an opaque surface. Also, they don't really tend to match Lego's red and blue as well. Here's my tip to solve that issue. What I do is paint white on the areas that will be red and blue. Once that dries, paint red and blue on top so that way they can appear lighter. Layering red and blue on the darker surface such as this red torso or blue legs or on top of Procreate will appear dark. But if you use white or light gray as the primer, you can then paint on top of that to get a brighter look. That's the minifig tip I have for today. The next hardest part was painting the webbings and the symbols on top of that painted surface. That took a long time because imagine screwing up when I have to make a line when I made a line too thick or I paint the symbol wrong. I then have to paint white on top of that mistake, paint red and blue later, and then try again. It is not easy, but I am glad I finished it. Now onto the second part of this figure, and that is the famous green coat. His head is fully painted except for the eyes. I did not paint the rings around his eyes or stubble because I don't care. Just leave me alone, you ungrateful sons of a bitch! Excuse me. I then modified Cape Man in his trench coat and I gave him new sets of arms. I also gave him the sweatpants of course because the figure won't be complete without it anyway. Lastly, for the final accessory, I made a bagel. Just kidding. It's a cookie. Spider-Gwen overall wasn't that difficult. Her hood is the same Lloyd hood like Miles, but painted in a different color. Now some people have suggested the Jedi hood, which I do understand, but I don't like how the hood juts out from the front. Modifying it would work, but to be honest, I find it easier to modify a Lloyd hood than a Jedi one, since all I really need to do for that is just cut the hairpiece. The Wild Style hood is also nowhere near accurate, so I don't know why anyone suggests that terrible idea to me. I then sanded the sides of the torso and I simply painted the rest. The back section has to be my favorite because it's a simplistic detail and it's just a clean paint job. Her unmasked head was actually the most difficult part. I want to avoid sculpting hair as much as possible, so I thought maybe using the Lloyd hairpiece could work if I just sand it. Luckily, with some careful sanding and trimming and using a file to match the Lego style of the strands, this is what I got, and honestly, it looks a lot better than I imagined. I did not think this would work, but it actually turned out pretty good. Spider Dora is my favorite from this video. I like experimenting different things with minifigures, and he was no exception. I wanted to paint the cell shadings like the comic book panel, but the way the movie portrayed him, Spider Dora almost looked like he's an animated painting, so that's what I did. I literally painted him. I wasn't trying to make a joke, I swear. So pretty much like how I do shadings for My Hero Academia concept arts on Instagram, I did the same thing for this guy, and I really like how it turned out. The eyes are sculpted and the belt pouches are made with styrene. I then use the Cape Man's trench coat and I'm painting the shadings. On the back of the trench coat, I only paint shading on the folds and creases of the trench coat itself, and it looks awesome. For an accessory, I sculpted a Rubik's Cube on top of the Lego tile. It looks round, and that is my fault. I just didn't want to paint all the squares, and I thought it would be easier to just sculpt it and then paint on top of it, so that way you have the indents in between the squares, which you can start with black and then the other colors on top of that. It just makes it easier to paint when you have the 3D textures, in my opinion. Now, I didn't paint random colored squares. I actually based this off the real Rubik's Cube in 360 view, so that way it's actually accurate. Penny Parker is the best girl in the movie and in my waifu list, and the reason why the FBI is after me. She was the first figure I made for the video, and she was a lot of fun to make. Her hair is sculpted and I painted the face. Her torso is sanded and I painted the details. The backpack is also sculpted, but it's not removable. I just don't think it's that necessary to give a removable feature in the first place. The skirt is from Cape Manus, and all I really did was paint simple gray lines. I could have added more colors, and she does have a plaid design, but I just want to move on. I did put a little teeny tiny spider on the back of her panties. I used those new Harry Potter legs, of course, since she is a lolly after all. So that's it, guys. I made a figure of an underage schoolgirl. For the spider mech, I didn't focus much on accuracy, but more so on the functionality. If you want a detailed, accurate build, I highly suggest checking out my boy Etho's sketches on Instagram. For the mech, I wanted to make sure Penny is able to operate the suit and that it's posable, with the ball joints, hinge joints, and swivel! I'm sorry, I'm no Jobby, I'm like a Chinese knockoff. If you want instructions for this guy, then pay for my entire student debt. But seriously, I'm not making instructions, but feel free to reverse engineer this. The dome is actually a Hulkbuster head, but I painted it in black. I also painted red and blue on this figure, but the red I used isn't quite accurate to the colors. Inside has controls and a place where Penny can actually stay in position. Spider-Ham is the last figure I finished, and I want to make him simple as possible. He lacks webbings only because, to be honest, I'm just quite lazy and I just wanted to finish this. For a figure that small, I can't possibly have time to do the webbings that small anyway, and well detailed, so my apologies. I used the baby figure for the Spider-Ham because in the film he is actually really short, so using a minifigure base is a no-go. I also did not use a gaming piece because it is not a good idea in my opinion. If I want to make an articulated Spider-Ham figure with a rotating head and give him articulated arms in the style of Lego minifigs, the baby figure is actually a better choice objectively. I sculpted his ears, cheeks, nose, and I painted the rest of the details. I then carefully cut off the arms, drilled a hole, glued Lego antenna piece so that way the arms have articulation. After that, I painted the rest. I used a Jack baby minifigure base because it's initially red, and it makes my job a whole lot easier. That is it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Next, I have recreators My Hero Academia Wave 3 commissioned Star Wars figures, and Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker from The Phantom Menace. I noticed some of my other figures I finished don't have a video yet, so I will hunt them down and see if I could do like a quick minute or two video on them to kill some time as you guys wait for a huge video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.